The house in Sandy Springs, Atlanta was quiet. Too quiet. Rain tapped softly against the glass windows. The air felt heavy, like grief had wrapped itself around every wall. Inside the living room, Selene Marlowe sat alone on the couch. Her mother had died just 3 weeks ago. The empty chair across from her still hurt to look at. A framed photo of her mother rested on the center table, smiling, elegant, full of life. Now she was gone forever. Selene held a small white handkerchief, trying not to cry again. Her phone buzzed. She wiped her eyes and picked it up. A message from her husband, Ramon Hale. "We need to talk tonight." Her heart tightened. She stood slowly, adjusted her simple black dress, and waited. By evening, Ramon walked in. Tall, well-dressed, expensive shoes clicking against the marble floor. Behind him stood Keisha Grant, Selene's best friend since college. She wore a tight red dress and carried a designer bag. She did not look sad. She did not look guilty. She looked confident. Selene's chest felt cold. Ramon dropped his car keys on the table. He did not hug her. He did not ask if she had eaten. He did not even say, "I'm sorry for your loss." Instead, he folded his arms. "Selene," he said flatly, "this marriage is over." The room went silent. The rain outside grew louder. Selene's voice trembled. "Over, what do you mean?" Keisha stepped forward and smiled lightly. "You've been too emotional lately," she said softly. "You are dragging Ramon down." Selene stared at her, shocked. This was the woman who had slept in her house, ate at her table, cried on her shoulder, called her sister. Ramon cleared his throat. "I'm filing for divorce tomorrow," he said coldly. "And Keisha and I are getting married." Selene felt like the floor disappeared beneath her feet. Her breath came fast. Her hands shook. She whispered, "Right after my mom died." Ramon shrugged. "Life moves on." Keisha placed her hand on Ramon's arm and smirked slightly. Selene looked between them, heart breaking in slow motion. She wanted to scream. She wanted to beg. But instead, she stood still. Proud. Broken. Quiet. Ramon turned toward the staircase. "You can pack your things and leave by Friday," he added casually. Then he walked upstairs with Keisha. Selene stood alone in the living room. Tears finally fell. Not loud cries, silent, painful tears. She knelt beside the coffee table and held her mother's photo. "Mama," she whispered, "what do I do now?" Late that night, Selene received another call. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A calm female voice spoke. "Good evening, Ms. Marlowe. My name is Attorney Delphine Croft. I represented your late mother." Selene wiped her eyes. "My mother?" she asked weakly. "Yes," Delphine said gently. "There is a matter concerning her will. You must come to our office in Buckhead tomorrow morning." Selene felt confused. "My mother didn't tell me anything about a will," she whispered. There was a pause. Then Delphine spoke carefully. "You may want to sit down before you come." The next morning, Selene stood in a sleek glass building in Buckhead. Polished floors. Soft lighting. Serious faces. She sat across from Attorney Delphine. A thick folder rested on the table. Delphine opened it slowly. "Your mother did not live a simple life, Selene," she said calmly. Selene frowned. "What do you mean?" Delphine slid a document forward. At the top, in bold letters, it read, "Last Will and Testament of Martha Marlowe." Selene's hands trembled. Delphine spoke clearly. "Your mother owned multiple properties across Georgia, luxury apartments in Miami, and major shares in a real estate firm." Selene's eyes widened. Delphine took a deep breath. "And she left all of it, valued at approximately $500 million to you." The room spun. Selene gasped. Her chest rose fast. She whispered, $500 million. Delphine nodded. At that exact moment, Seleni's phone vibrated. A text from Ramon flashed on the screen. Remember to pack your things quickly. I don't want drama in my house. Selene stared at the message. Then she looked back at the lawyer. Her tears dried. Her shoulders straightened. Her pain slowly turned into strength. She whispered softly, but firmly, "He thinks I have nothing left." Delphine smiled slightly. Selene stood up slowly. Her eyes were no longer weak. They were clear. They were steady. They were powerful. Outside, the Atlanta skyline glowed in the morning sun. And for the first time since her mother died, Selene felt something different. Not sadness. Not fear. But quiet resolve. She whispered to herself, "He has no idea who I really am." The sun was bright over Buckhead, Atlanta, but Selene Marlowe felt as if a new world had opened in front of her. She sat still in attorney Delphine Croft's office, staring at the thick folder that proved her inheritance. $500 million. Real houses. Luxury apartments. Land. Shares in a powerful real estate firm. Everything her husband believed she had lost was actually just beginning. Delphine spoke gently. "Your mother built this quietly for you. She did not want you to marry for money, only for love." Selene swallowed hard. Tears filled her eyes again, not from pain this time, but from love. "My mother protected me even after death," she whispered. Delphine slid another paper toward her. "This gives you full legal control effective today. You can decide what happens to every property." Selene took a deep breath. Her mind drifted back to last night. Ramon's cold voice. Keisha's smirk. The word divorce. Her heart hardened just a little. She stood slowly. "I want to go home," she said calmly. "But not as the woman they threw away." By afternoon, Selene arrived back at the Sandy Springs mansion. 2 moving trucks were already outside. Men were carrying out her things, clothes, boxes, and bags. Inside, laughter floated down the stairs. Ramon and Keisha sat in the living room drinking wine. They did not expect her so soon. When Selene walked in, Ramon frowned. "You're back already," he said sharply. Keisha rolled her eyes. "Didn't you see we are busy?" she said casually. Selene stood straight. She looked around the house slowly, the house she had once loved. Then she spoke, calm but firm. "I didn't come to beg. I came to talk." Ramon laughed lightly. "Talk about what? The divorce is happening whether you like it or not." Selene walked to the center table and picked up her mother's framed photo. Her voice softened. "My mother is gone," she said quietly. "And you thought that meant I was alone." Keisha scoffed. "You are alone." Selene turned toward her slowly. "No," she said. "You were the one who was never really my friend." The room went silent. Ramon crossed his arms. "What do you want, Selene?" She placed the photo down gently. "I want my things moved back into this house." Ramon laughed loudly. "Are you mad? This is my house." Selene met his eyes. "No," she said calmly. "It belongs to my mother's estate, which now belongs to me." Ramon froze. Keisha frowned. "What are you talking about?" At that moment, 2 black cars pulled into the driveway. Attorney Delphine Croft stepped out, followed by 2 legal assistants. She walked inside with confidence. Ramon's face changed. Delphine handed him a document. He read the first line, and his face drained of color. Property ownership, Martha Marlowe estate heir, Selene Marlowe. His hands began to shake. Selene spoke softly but firmly. "This house is mine." Keisha gasped. Ramon stepped back. Delphine looked at him calmly. "You are currently living here without legal ownership. Ms. Marlowe has full rights." Ramon stammered. But I paid bills here." Selene looked at him steadily. "You paid bills in my mother's house." Silence fell heavy in the room. Keisha suddenly tried to smile. "Selene, let's not make this messy," she said sweetly. "We were like sisters." Selene turned to her. No, she said quietly. Sisters don't steal husbands. Keisha's face hardened. Delphine cleared her throat. Ms. Marlowe, what would you like to do? Selene paused. She looked at Ramon, the man who abandoned her in her grief. She looked at Keisha, the friend who betrayed her. Then she spoke calmly. I want them out of this house by tomorrow morning. Ramon gasped. You can't do this. Selene did not raise her voice. I can. And I will. Delphine nodded. A formal notice was placed on the table. Notice to vacate 24 hours. Ramon felt the room spinning. Keisha's confidence disappeared. Selene picked up her mother's photo again. Her voice was soft but unbreakable. You threw me away when I was broken. Now truth is standing for me. Outside, the moving trucks reversed, but this time, they were for Ramon and Keisha. As they stared in shock, Selene walked slowly up the stairs, not as a victim, but as the rightful owner of the house. And for the first time since her mother died, she felt strong. Really strong. The next morning, the house in Sandy Springs was quiet again. No wine glasses. No laughter. No mocking voices. Only sunlight pouring through the tall windows. Ramon Hale and Keisha Grant were gone. By 7 a.m., they had dragged their bags onto the driveway, angry, embarrassed, and silent. Neighbors watched from across the street. Some whispered. Some shook their heads. Some recorded on their phones. Selene Marlowe stood on the balcony upstairs, holding her mother's photo. She watched them leave without saying a word. She did not smile. She did not celebrate. She simply felt lighter. By noon, Attorney Delphine Croft arrived again with new documents. This time, it was bigger than just the house. Selene sat at the dining table, the same table where she once cried alone. Delphine opened a large folder. Your inheritance includes major shares in Skyline Crest Realty, one of the most powerful real estate companies in Georgia. Selene's eyes widened. Delphine continued calmly. And your husband, Ramon Hale, currently works there as a senior manager. Selene froze. Her heart skipped. He works for my company, she whispered. Delphine nodded. A copy of the company board invitation slid across the table. Special board meeting, owner's review. Selene stared at it. Her fingers trembled slightly. Delphine spoke gently. You have every right to attend. In fact, they are expecting you. Selene took a deep breath. She looked at her mother's photo. Then she stood up slowly. Then I will go. That afternoon, black cars arrived outside the house. Professional drivers in neat suits opened the doors. Selene stepped out wearing a simple cream dress and low heels. No loud makeup. No drama. Just calm confidence. The car drove toward downtown Atlanta, tall glass buildings rising like silver towers. When they arrived at Skyline Crest Realty, employees stood in shock. Whispers spread fast. Is that her? The new owner? The woman they humiliated? Inside the boardroom, long polished tables shone under bright lights. Executives sat stiffly in expensive chairs. Ramon was already there. He looked tired. His suit was wrinkled. His eyes were uneasy. When the doors opened and Selene walked in, his heart dropped. His face went pale. He stood up quickly. Selene, what are you doing here? He stammered. She did not answer. She walked calmly to the head of the table and sat down. Delphine placed a nameplate in front of her. Selene Marlowe, principal owner. A murmur ran through the room. Ramon felt his legs weaken. His voice cracked. You own this company. Selene looked at him steadily. Yes. Silence. The board chairman cleared his throat. Ms. Marlowe, we are honored to have you. Selene nodded slightly. She opened a slim folder. Her voice was soft but firm. Before we begin, I would like to review employment conduct. Ramon swallowed hard. A screen turned on behind her. Documents appeared, complaints, approvals, and questionable contracts. Delphine spoke calmly. Mr. Hale approved several deals that benefited his personal projects. Ramon shifted uncomfortably. Sweat formed on his forehead. Selene looked at him, not with anger, but with quiet disappointment. "You left me when I was grieving," she said gently. "You betrayed me when I was broken." The room felt heavy. She continued, "But today is not about revenge. It is about accountability." Ramon lowered his head. His chest tightened. The board chairman spoke carefully. "Ms. Marlowe, what is your decision?" Selene paused. She looked around the room, at the faces that once respected Ramon more than her. Then she spoke clearly. "Effective immediately. Mr. Hale is suspended pending a full audit. All his approvals will be reviewed. And no further personal expenses will be charged to this company." Gasps filled the room. Ramon felt like the ground disappeared beneath him. He whispered, "Selene, please." She met his eyes calmly. "This is not punishment. This is truth." At that moment, the doors opened again. Keisha walked in hurriedly, breathless, desperate, and shaking. She froze when she saw Selene at the head of the table. Her face drained of color. She whispered, "You own this too?" Selene looked at her quietly. "Yes." Keisha felt her confidence crumble. The boardroom fell silent. Selene gathered her papers slowly. Before standing, she spoke one final line. "You mocked the woman you thought had nothing. Today, you face the woman who owns everything." Then she stood tall and walked out. Behind her, Ramon sat broken. Keisha stood frozen. And the room knew, nothing would ever be the same again. 2 weeks later, the Sandy Springs mansion looked different. Not ruined. Not dirty. But empty of arrogance. The luxury furniture Ramon and Keisha brought in was gone. Their photos were removed. Their wine bottles were packed away. Only Selene's mother's picture remained on the center table, watching quietly. Outside, a small moving truck sat by the gate. Ramon stood on the driveway, holding 2 suitcases. His face was tired, his shoulders slumped, his confidence shattered. His phone buzzed again. A message flashed on the screen. Final notice. Employment suspended pending audit. His hands trembled. Behind him, Keisha stood stiffly, arms folded, eyes cold. She no longer looked like the confident woman who walked into Selene's house weeks ago. Her voice was sharp. "This is your mess, Ramon. I didn't sign up for this." Ramon turned slowly. "Keisha, after everything," he whispered. She scoffed. "You left a grieving wife for me. Why would I stay with a man who lost everything?" Without another word, she dragged her bag to a waiting car. No hug. No apology. No loyalty. She drove away. Ramon watched her leave, feeling completely alone for the first time in his life. He looked back at the house he believed was his. Now it was someone else's. His chest tightened. Across Atlanta, Selene Marlowe sat in a bright glass office overlooking the skyline. Her desk was clean. Her posture was calm. Her presence was powerful. Attorney Delphine Croft handed her a folder. "The audit is complete," Delphine said gently. "Ramon misused company funds, but you chose fairness, not cruelty." Selene nodded slowly. She did not smile in victory. She did not celebrate in pride. She simply felt peace. Later that week, she held her first official press meeting as the principal owner of Skyline Crest Realty. Reporters filled the room. Cameras flashed. Microphones pointed toward her. Selene spoke clearly into the mic. "My mother built her legacy quietly. I will honor it loudly, with honesty, fairness, and compassion." Headlines spread fast. Hidden heiress takes over $500 million empire. Manager suspended after financial review. Woman betrayed becomes powerful business leader. Ramon watched the news from a small rented apartment in Midtown. Bare walls. Cheap couch. Quiet room. Tears filled his eyes as he saw Selene speak with grace, dignity, and strength. He whispered softly. I divorced a queen, thinking she was broken. One evening, Selene visited a struggling neighborhood in Atlanta where many single mothers lived in poor housing. She stood in simple clothes, shaking hands with women, listening to their stories. She approved a new affordable housing project in her mother's name, the Martha Marlowe Homes. Children laughed. Mothers cried in relief. Workers thanked her. People began to call her the quiet builder. Meanwhile, Ramon accepted a junior position at a small real estate firm. No office, no assistant, no luxury. Just hard work and humility. One night, he stood alone on a bridge overlooking the city lights. Wind blew gently across the water. He whispered to himself, I didn't lose my wife because she was weak. I lost her because I was. Days later, Selene received a handwritten letter. It was from Ramon. Inside, he wrote, I betrayed your grief. I mocked your pain. And I underestimated your worth. I am truly sorry. Selene read it quietly. She did not reply with anger. She did not reply with revenge. She simply placed it beside her mother's photo. Because some lessons are learned too late. Ramon remained alive, but humbled. Keisha moved on, but alone. Selene stood tall, not for revenge, but for truth. And Atlanta watched a woman rise from heartbreak into greatness. If this story moved you, type never underestimate a woman in the comments right now. If you believe betrayal will always meet consequences, like this video before you scroll. And if you want more emotional, shocking, and powerful real-life style stories, subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next story will leave you stunned. Remember this forever. You can walk away today, but the truth will bring you back tomorrow.